My name's Amanda Rigby, for those of you who I have yet to meet. I'm a registered dietitian, and as Sarah so gracefully introduced me on Facebook, I own a virtual private practice called Heal Thyself Nutrition, and I mainly focus on the gut and GI disorders, but I take a functional medicine approach to dietetics and to food, meaning that I just kind of work really hard to pull back the layers of a person's story to get to the root of why they're not feeling great, where these symptoms that they're experiencing every day are coming from. So it's really kind of like a detective. I wish we could add that to the end of our credentials, but it's a really fun practice that we're working with. So I'm excited to talk to you guys tonight a little bit about skin health and just kind of creating and optimizing beauty from the inside out, but also for those of us who kind of want to fight this aging battle gracefully, and just maybe some tips for the teenagers in our life or the young adults who are experiencing the frustrating acne, the things that I'm sure you can relate to. I know I can. And I know that those kind of conditions. So when I'm talking about skin, I'm thinking acne, of course. I'm thinking rashes, rosacea, psoriasis, all those kind of conditions. And when we're thinking about those, the first thing I think of are all the things that come to mind that were so easily prescribed or what's the word I'm looking for? Suggested for treatment options. And I'm sure you guys have heard of or tried all of the things that I'm sure I've tried, like the topicals, the creams, the ointments, the powders, the concealers, the birth control pills, the prescription drugs to kind of get rid of some of these skin problems. And so again, in my practice, we're really looking at where this stuff is coming from. So to put a topical ointment or a prescription on top of these skin issues, I personally, it's not my first line of defense, and it's not my approach to treating them. I think it's more of like a Band-Aid, literally and figuratively, in the sense of the skin. And I think that we just need to, again, address where these are coming from. So when we're thinking about skin issues, everything kind of looks inflamed, right? So we're red and splotchy and patchy, itchy. So the first thing I want you to do when we're thinking about irritation, so that color, the red I was talking about, is definitely a sign of inflammation. So inflammation is what's happening when our immune system is fired up. And this stems from our guts. And if you guys know me at all, I call myself the gut-loving dietitian. So I usually bring everything back here. And this is kind of where we start when we want to approach most of our health conditions. So tonight, specifically skin-related issues, we're really going to come down to our gut. So our GI tract, our bellies, whatever we want to call them. But so 75% of our immune system is housed in our gut or in our belly, in our GI tract. So when we're thinking about an irritated skin, we're thinking inflammation. Inflammation stems from this, oh, my people are talking, cool. Inflammation happens when our immune system is fired up. So if we now can put these two things together, that 75% of our immune system lies in our gut, and inflammation is because of our immune system kind of being on fire and showing in these symptoms in our skin conditions, this is the place that we have to start. We have to kind of look at our diet. So of course, are we eating out of a bag box or a window very often? We're thinking like processed foods, extra sugar, gluten. These are really inflammatory foods that if we can kind of take a look at our full day and see where they might be playing a little more often than not, where we could take them out, replace them with something else, just make a little swap to see if that would relieve any of the symptoms right off the bat. The second thing I would think about after we kind of look at our diet and look at our lifestyle in that sense is any food sensitivities that we're not addressing. So there's the main food sensitivities, like I was saying, gluten, but also dairy and soy and eggs are 4 really common food sensitivities that have been really tied to skin conditions. And I would probably suggest, I mean, you could just trial it with yourself or with the person that you're thinking of who's experiencing issues. If you were to take out one of those 4 components, so these are the main ones I'm thinking: dairy, gluten, soy, and eggs, just being these really inflammatory foods in nature. If you were to take each one of those out separately for about 3 weeks at a time, and then really record, like, day in and day out how you feel physically, but also paying more attention to that, like, physical exam of, oh, maybe this rash that I always get in the winter or in the summer, some of these things that we almost push aside and make an excuse for, maybe it went away and you're like, oh, it's gone. I don't think when it comes to skin things, it's so common that we have them that we, again, kind of make these excuses for them and almost qualify them as normal or real. And to me, it's a physical sign that something inside is a little off and that it can be tweaked. So that's definitely something I would look for again. So taking that kind of physical assessment, just looking around, looking at your hands, like, and your feet and your creases and places like that. And just like, why does this always sort of happen here? And what kind of things maybe exacerbate those issues? So if you were to try to see if there was a little sensitivity to a food, again, you would take one of those sources out. So the gluten, the dairy, the soy, and the eggs, pull those out for 3 weeks and see how different you feel. See if it makes a difference. Maybe not. So then you're safe. Otherwise, you might see a difference in some of the skin things with those 4. And then in the sense of, again, irritation equaling inflammation, kind of keep that the main theme here. We want to offset this inflammation with certain foods as well. So we know that there's anti-inflammatory foods. The easiest thing to think of when I say that is color. So just adding a little more color to your plate. As we get into the fall and the winter now, we're getting so many colorful vegetables and soups, and we can just add so much more things in season. So adding that color is going to provide the antioxidants and give us some of those anti-inflammatory compounds in those foods. So I'm thinking, of course, like fruits and vegetables, more color, the merrier. I'm thinking also about like wild fish. So really good quality sources of fats are also going to be great for skin. They're going to provide kind of that not oil, but provide the texture and just like the moisture that we need. So thinking like dry, flaky skin, this oily fish, so like salmon, mackerel, sardines, things like that, especially there's wild salmon for that rich color and all the nutrients there. Thinking about like olive oil. So again, healthy fats, coconut oil. What else? One sec. Kind of loud. Okay.
它这个行吗？
Healthy fats. Yes, if everyone could please mute yourselves. I thought I muted everybody. This is funny that I have to watch myself. Maybe. Does everyone know how to mute themselves? I can see. Okay. 2 seconds. I'm just scrolling through everybody's thing and making sure we're muted. Okay. Anti-inflammatory foods, right? So we're trying to offset the inflammation, the puffiness, the irritation. Some great herbs to add to your plates would be like ginger and turmeric. So that orange spice is awesome. Then I'm thinking about specific supplementation that could help. So again, we're on this track of anti-inflammatory, of antioxidant. So my immediate thought is the powerful antioxidant OPC3. And if you're not familiar with it, feel free to leave a message over here, ask the person that invited you to this video, but it's super powerful antioxidant. And again, we are trying to offset all of these outside stressors that are kind of coming in to our skin offset all of the topical things that we are putting on when we're trying to fix our skin. And so in that breath as well, like think about how many toxins, this is becoming more and more known as they're kind of studying and researching a little bit more about how many toxins we're coming into contact with on a daily basis. So as soon as we step outside, especially if we live in like a metropolitan area, just how many environmental things are coming physically into us. So again, thinking skin, thinking what's coming inside of us, what we're washing our hands with. If we're overusing the Purell, I mean, we're just being bombarded from the outside in with toxins as well. So we kind of have to, not only with our food choices, so picking those colorful, healthy fat, all the different vitamins, minerals, and the spices like the turmeric and the ginger and stuff to offset all of the outside stuff. We do, in a sense, need a higher commitment to supplementing with maybe a more potent antioxidant just to fight that stress as well. And when I refer to it as stress, I am talking about all of those outside toxins. So we kind of have to fight. There's definitely a lot that we don't have control over in that sense. And if we're focusing on the things that we do have control over, we have the ability to add these additional nutrients, especially in this isotonic form that the OPC3 would come in. So that's definitely the first supplement that I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of supporting not only our skin health, but our immune system, fighting free radicals and providing that antioxidant activity. Of course, my second and one of my most favorite supplements that I recommend almost all my patients is going to be a probiotic, because we're thinking about the gut. We know that our immune system is housed in our gut. So we really need to show our bellies as much love as we can. So a probiotic supplement is going to inoculate our guts with this good bacteria that's going to promote a healthy immune system, promote that fighting of the inflammation. So again, being able to bring down some of that irritation that you could see on the skin level. Vitamin D is also another supplement that I know to be shown to be linked with specifically psoriasis and acne. So that's never a bad idea to just make sure, especially if you're living in New England like I am, we're not getting much sun. So definitely to be using a vitamin D supplement for skin health, but also because every receptor cell, every cell in our body has a receptor cell for vitamin D. And it's really, I didn't know that before obviously studying nutrition. And I was like, no way. I'm like, why are we not as talking about vitamin D as much as we should be? And for us in my world, we're not even calling vitamin D or referring to it as the vitamin anymore. We're calling it a hormone because of how much it does for the body. So if you can imagine, every cell in our body has a receptor for this vitamin D. And most of the population is deficient because we don't get it much through food. It comes through not too many sources. We have to fortify a lot of products. Otherwise, if you put your mushrooms in the sun, you can get some D through those. And some fish that we don't normally eat. I'm trying to think of definitely like sardines. There's a little bit in salmon, but then some other like funky fish that we're not usually eating too much of. So D is a tough one to get through food. So it's definitely a supplement I recommend on the top of my list as well, that with the probiotic and the OPC3. Again, because of our body needing that D on every receptor for every cell. So all of our functioning, let alone skin health. So just overall feeling better. Absence of sickness, absence of disease would be diminished with optimal vitamin D levels for sure. And then my last supplement that I've had good experience with some of my patients is the Timeless Prescription Oxygen Extreme. It's another really potent antioxidant. It also helps support the body's detox pathways. So again, we're thinking about being bombarded from all of these outside environmental toxins. So we really want to make sure we are clearing them, we're getting them out. The way that we support our liver, which is where we detox, is obviously through a diet rich of fruits and vegetables, clean, lean protein, and healthy fats. But This supplement in particular, the Oxygen Extreme, is a good immune booster, and it does help with the detox pathways. It has a really nice blend of herbs and vitamins, green tea extract and bilberry, vitamin C, vitamin E, a combination of those that really just kind of helps everything get out, flush everything right through, get it all out of here. The quicker we can get all these toxins out, the better for our skin. Of course, we want to drink a lot of water. I think that's one that's so overlooked, but of course, if we're thinking about hydration status, you can see it in people. So again, kind of take that physical exam, look at yourself. Sorry, I still hear somebody. And kind of assess, the areas of your body that you might be feeling, either whether it's overly oily or dry, flaky, itchy, irritated, red, kind of taking that picture of everything that's going on. The last three things that I think about in getting the sense of beauty from the inside out is, how are we sleeping? So again, we're taking this, it's called a functional approach. So we're looking at every area of our body. We're acknowledging that there's so much coming from outside. Okay, so our environment is kind of not always working in synchrony with us. So we have to fight back. So thank you. I'm just gonna try to take this sound off. I don't know why it doesn't let me just, I know I've seen people do before. I'm just gonna mute everybody at once, but I don't see that button. One sec, I'll give you the last three once it's quiet. Sorry. Better? Oh gosh, now it's just me. I wish I found the button before. Okay, I apologize for that. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so last three things. We're thinking about this functional approach to helping our skin conditions. So again, we're thinking about every bit of our daily life. Thinking outside, we know the environment. We're thinking inside, we're starting with our guts. We're starting with things that we can control, assessing what foods do specific things to us. Do we eat ice cream every night before bed, and we just kind of feel, bloated, not so great, really tired, or, the sandwich at 1 o'clock in the afternoon makes us really sleepy for the rest of the day, or the big pasta dinner that we're having. Just kind of be more mindful of how the things that we're putting into us are making you feel, and how it's kind of surfacing in this instance through our skin. And it's a really big sign of something deeper going on. So when we're, again, looking at a full body approach to things, we're kind of pulling back these layers of, okay, this isn't necessarily a normal feeling, or unfortunately, maybe it's become normal for most people, but noticing and just keeping a little note to things. So maybe pulling out some of those foods for a couple days, a week or two at a time, and seeing how you feel on and off of them. But then we have to think about how we're sleeping. So that's where it's going. So are we sleeping? Are we getting a quality sleep? Are we getting enough, or are we getting too much? So sleep is the time where we're kind of regenerating. And again, now it's coming out that too much could be too much. So over 8 hours isn't really shown to have any benefit, if not almost being detrimental. And under 7, same thing. So there's this sweet spot between the 7 and 8 marker, but it's also the fact and the ability of us to get into that REM sleep, to be able to actually be asleep, stay asleep, and complete those sleep cycles. So making sure that we are in the environment that promotes this kind of sleep. So making sure it's really dark, trying to limit, I know as hard as it can be, the TV and the phones before we go to bed, at least an hour. They say 2, but I find myself just like walking in circles, trying to go to sleep. So really I just moved recently over the summer, and it was a real big mission of mine to make my bedroom, and I heard this from Dr. D, just this like sanctuary, for lack of a better word, for it to really just be a place that promotes a quality sleep. Because it's really the only place, you know, like we just love to go into our beds at the end of the day, and that's our space. To make sure that you get the blackout curtains. They're so popular and well made now that you can get them almost anywhere, and they look like normal curtains, but so they're not going to be black. They look like our normal, whatever pattern you want to do, but there's no light coming into them, which is great. So even in the morning, yes, we would like to wake up with the sun, but if you are trying to stay and complete those sleep cycles, it keeps the room nice and dark. So it's pretty awesome. I took the TV out of my room. So I was really, again, just committed to making sure the things that I have control over, like trying to create a great sleeping space, but getting into that comfort. Yes, definitely, Mick, getting to that calm state where I can sleep, because that's, again, where we're regenerating. But also the lack of sleep is immediately speeding up our aging process. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate, and I've definitely seen it and felt it when I haven't got a good night's sleep. Just feel like 20 years older all of a sudden. I'm also thinking, when we think full body, full life approach to wellness and to skin health tonight, stress. So physical and emotional stress. So we talked a little bit about offsetting these free radicals that we're getting from the environment, but also, emotional stress. So I was writing this article in regards to all of this political stuff that's going on right now, in regards to the levels of emotional stress that it's brought up for a lot of people, and how we physically hold on to trauma and to stress in our bodies. And you see it, and that's what inflammation is. It's just this stress that our body is constantly like pulsating at this level, and it needs to relax, we can't get to that point if we can't really get through, process, and work through some of these emotional stressors. So again, just being mindful of where these things are coming up. If it's a constant reoccurring thing, how able are we to get rid of it? Is it possible to move away from a situation that's causing us this amount of emotional stress? Because it really is wreaking havoc on the rest of our insides, which again are coming out and showing on the outside of us. So stress is a tricky, but it's a silent killer for sure. So that's something I would try to also think about when I'm thinking about general well-being, but also how you could definitely see, and I'm sure you can remember, like breaking out with acne before a test, like in high school, and just, breaking up with your boyfriend, and I don't know, I remember it. So I know what emotional stress can definitely do to the skin. And I'm also thinking exercise. So of course we want to sweat out these toxins, and what better way to get a little endorphin release, help with the stress, help with us looking good, but also feeling good. But that's the fastest way that we're going to really get rid of these toxins, by sweating. So it's just any sort of movement, also going into like a sauna or a hot bath, and just anything to kind of open up our pores, get things kind of out of there as fast as possible. So exercise is a great way to get a lot of stuff accomplished at once. And then I had a lot of questions before we went live about topical creams or ointments that I would recommend. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, I have like some good brands that I would think of and things to look for. But I think it was more important to talk about the ingredients that I don't want in a skincare product. And I think we're becoming more mindful of this as a wellness-focused society. There's a lot of new companies coming out with good, clean products, knowing that people are kind of fighting back with knowing or wanting to know what the ingredients are in products. So it's not so much that there's ingredients that I want to look for, but ingredients that I definitely want to avoid when I'm thinking of topical. So now once we get our skin stuff under control, And again, I would kind of give your skin a break if you are going to go through this process of kind of clearing up the gut a little bit, focusing on the detox pathways, and decreasing the levels of inflammation in the body. Kind of hold off on putting anything else on top of us, you know, makeup, ointments, nighttime creams and stuff, because they really could be contributing to what is going on at the same time, because of all of these ingredients that most companies are using in the products just for probably price, longevity, but things like, I mean, we'd be surprised, like formaldehyde and lead and things like BHA is another one, parabens, so things like that. There's a list on the environmental working group that lists any and all, yes, and sorry, I get distracted by all of the talking. This is fun though. Any and all ingredients that you would be like a no for your product. So I would just take a look at that. More importantly, I put more importance on looking and being more mindful of what's in our stuff than what I would rather you have in things. Does that make sense? More so focus on like the no things first, and then everything else is fine as long as we don't have those things, if that makes sense to you. Because I love me a good face mask, that's for sure. So I definitely am looking for things that, again, just don't have those specific words in them. So yeah, I mean, to wrap up my overall general things, we'll do some questions maybe if you want. Again, try to like keep this mantra in your head. So irritation, so skin things, red, flaky, dry, irritation equals inflammation. So there's something going on in our guts, because when we have inflammation, our immune system is fired up. Why is our immune system fired up? Okay, is it an environmental thing? Is it an allergic reaction to something outside in? Is it a food that we're constantly putting in that we're not noticing? Because we kind of have gotten comfortably miserable in this feeling of yucky all the time. So is it a food? Is it a lack of movement? And then is it a lack of water? How can we offset these feelings with an anti-inflammatory diet, with extra antioxidants, so colorful fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, omega-3s, inoculating our bellies with a good probiotic. I just got the question, what probiotic would I recommend? When I think of probiotics, I am thinking of a multi-strain with at least like 10 million CFUs, and that's just the bugs, I call them for easy terms, inside of them. You want a multi-strain so that it can, each strain will do something different, and if you're not specifically testing for something wrong in particular, you can at least know that you're gonna get the good stuff from all different streams in that sense. I like the probiotic 10 that nutraMetrix has, because of the different strains, because of the amount of CFUs in them. And I take that every morning, and I definitely recommend that one specifically. I've talked about the OPC3 in regards to an antioxidant, and the Oxygen Extreme by Timeless Prescription for the antioxidant and the detox support as well. Vitamin D, again, because of its receptor site on every single cell in our body. So really optimizing those levels, I think you'd see almost an immediate, general overall feeling better, because if you can imagine, every cell in our body is looking for vitamin D. Sorry, I'm just gonna make sure it's muted again. So vitamin D, again, sleep, assessing our stress levels, where can we kind of get rid of things, and moving a little bit more, exercising, sweating it out a little bit. So I will read through a couple questions, I guess. I didn't get a rule book, so we'll talk for a minute if you want. Do you find different people need different types of pro or prebiotics? I do. You can test specifically for, when I think of probiotics, I'm thinking, of course, gut disorders. So that's what I specialize in. So this is more of like SIBO, IBS, IBD, Crohn's disease. This is the things that I'm working with. And for those particular people, they are going to need a different, more potent strain of a probiotic. In this instance, I mean, we could definitely talk elsewhere because I don't want to prescribe anything for anyone in particular. But yeah, so each person is going to need a different strain in that sense. A general well-being is why I recommend the multi-strain probiotic that we have in the probiotic 10, because it will cover most of the bases in that sense. What's the best way to test how healthy or unhealthy your gut is? Without spending another $1, I would do the pulling out of the foods like I talked about at the beginning for those 21 days, the gluten, dairy, soy, and eggs. I would try that on your own, either one at a time or all of them at once if you feel like it. It's not as hard as it sounds. It sounds like I'm listing off a lot of things, but it's really just a diet high in fruits and vegetables, clean proteins, healthy fats. We're really just missing out on those things that come out of a bag box or a window. And in that sense, you can see, I think you'd feel an immediate difference between how we react to on or off those foods. So whether the bloating has gone away or the gas has increased or things like that, I think you'll see that's a free way to test. There are some tests called like a GI map, and there's some, we can do the gene SNP DNA testing to kind of see different level, but for gut specifically, I run some specific tests to kind of test that stuff out. But yeah, a free way is just to pull out some foods that we know are inflammatory in nature, and we know those are the top allergen foods. So it makes sense that if we're experiencing some inflammation, it has to be obviously from an outside source. So we can think about what we're putting into our bodies every day. Might be from there. All right, I'll do one more, and then you can email me or write on the Facebook post, and I'll try my best to answer them all. Length of time it takes for skin to clear up, considering skin life cycle is 28 days. I like that. I've definitely seen, all right, let me preface with, when I think about getting rid of toxins and inflammation, there is this phenomenon that kind of happens to the skin where it almost backfires on us before it gets good. So I do what you're saying with this life cycle of the skin. When we go to remove these foods and replace and kind of regenerate all of our cells, kind of reboot our metabolism and really maximize our detox pathways, our body is getting rid of so much stuff that it reacts in a lot of cases through our skin. So we get a lot of acne, we get these weird skin things for the first couple of days, and it's literally just everything coming out of us. So I should preface that if we are about to try to clean up our guts a little bit, you might see some sort of reaction in your skin, which is interesting. But again, it's just a sign that something inside it's changing and needs to be changed, needs to be addressed, and we got to get this stuff out of us. So that is one way that it will exit us. That being said, so that could happen at the beginning, first couple of days. I definitely noticed that when I put people on this sort of eliminating of those kind of foods, or just kind of really, again, focusing on the liver and detoxing it. But then I would say, I mean, like within the next 3 weeks, you could definitely see more of a glow, more of a natural texture is such a bad word. What would this word be? Texture, I guess, but texture is, I don't know, a weird word when it comes to skin. And again, it's assessing those places that we have always kind of had that underlying, or again, that rash that comes up every winter or every summer, and is that still coming back? So I would give it 3 weeks for any sort of change to really turn over. But all of our cells turn over in 120 days. So you can imagine how much we could really fix if we just commit to, what's 120 days, a couple months of really fueling ourselves properly. So it's exciting. It's an empowering thought. But I hope you guys had fun like I did. This was cool. I've never done this sort of looking at everybody. Thanks. This was fun. But yeah, I think You can keep the questions going on the page under the post if you'd like. I don't mind. I don't know if that's allowed, but I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. If you are on Facebook and found this, you can find me there. My private practice is personally virtual, so I don't have any state ties or boundaries, so we could always talk like I see in the comments. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you guys had a day off on this holiday. And I hope to see all of your pretty, healthy, glowing skin faces on Facebook. The name of my company is Heal Thyself Nutrition. My name is Amanda Rigby, and I had so much fun.